Morning, guys. Today is Wednesday, April 15, 2020, and we will have another class of math. But as you know, the first thing that we are going to do is to pray, and I invite you to pray, to close your eyes, and let's pray. Dear Jesus in heaven, thank you again for another new day of life. Thank you for all your blessings. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your mercies. And because you have helped us so far. This morning we are going to learn a new topic in math. So we ask you for understanding and intelligence to comprehend this topic. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, guys, yesterday, do you remember what were we talking about yesterday in our class? We were talking about time, minutes, seconds, hours, how many minutes do we have in an hour, or how many seconds in a minute, and so on. So when we want to measure time, what instrument do we use when we want to measure time? We use a clock, right? And we can measure time by hours, minutes, seconds, days, weeks, months, and years. But today we are going to talk about another thing. We are going to talk about temperature. So, what instrument do you use to know if something is hot or cold? Maybe you can use your previous knowledge, what you already know about the objects. Some objects or some things you already know that they are hot or cold. But if you want to know exactly the temperature of that object, what do you have to use? Or for example, the temperature of the climate. So there is an instrument and also some units. In here, for example, the instrument that we use for time is the clock. And the units that we use to measure time are these ones: hours, minutes, seconds, days, weeks, months, years. But in talking about temperature, what instrument do we use, and which one are the units that we can use to measure the temperature? So let's see. To measure temperature, we use something that it's called, do you know the name of this? It's called excellent thermometer. With the thermometer, we can know when something is hot or cold, or for example, when you have fever. So you go to the doctor uses a thermometer to measure your temperature. Also, we can find thermometers in some walls to measure the temperature of the environment. Or some people use those instruments to measure the temperature of water or other liquids. So, which one are the units that we have to use to measure temperature? We have two units. We can measure the temperature in Celsius degrees or in Fahrenheit degrees. Celsius degrees or Fahrenheit degrees. Even if you go to your kitchen at your home, if you go to the stove of your kitchen, the stove has an oven, un horno, estufa. So you are going to see that there is a little button that your mom is going to move. And in that button says 200, 300, 150 Celsius or Fahrenheit. That means that the oven of your kitchen, of your stove at home, has a thermometer. For example, when your mom wants to bake a cake or a pizza or a lasagna or make or a bread. So she uses the oven, and the oven has a little thermometer, and she regulates the temperature of the oven for the pizza or the bread or the cake to 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 be cooked. Okay, so that is what we are going to learn today. Measuring temperature with Celsius and Fahrenheit degrees. Now guys, I need you to open your book in page 111. This time you are not going to need your notebook of math. You will need only your book. So take your book and your pencil and open your book in page 111. In that page, you are going to see an image like this one that you have in here. And it's the figure of a thermometer. If you can see, we have the two units in which we can measure the temperature. We have Fahrenheit degrees and also Celsius degrees. That means that all these numbers that we have in here means Fahrenheit degrees. And how do we write them? The F means Fahrenheit, and the little ball that it's besides the F means the degrees. So, for example, if we have 10, we read 10 Fahrenheit degrees. That is the way that you have to read it. But in this side, by this side, we have the Celsius degrees. So if we have 10, and like this, we have to read 10 Celsius degrees. Okay, so we can use both of them. We can use or Fahrenheit or Celsius degrees. But they are not the same, like dollars and lempiras. It's not the same to say $10 than 10 lempiras, yes or not? Right? So it's not the same to say 10 Fahrenheit degrees than 10 Celsius degrees. So for you to understand better, we are going to analyze, for example, this thermometer. Just let me erase this. Okay, so we are going to analyze first this. What does it say? Look in there or look in your books. It's the same figure. It says boiling point of water. What is that? What is boiling point of water? That means, for example, if right now, for example, look at me right now. What do I have here? A glass of water. Do you think this water is hot or cold? Or at a normal temperature? At a normal temperature, right? It's not cold because it doesn't look like cold nor hot. So this water is at a normal temperature. So when we say that water is at a boiling point, is when you put this water in a pot, and you, like in a pot like this one, look, and you apply fire, and the water starts to heat more and more and more and more, and there is a point in which the water starts bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. So that is the boiling point of water. And you say, Mamá, el agua está hirviendo. Okay? Because it starts to bubble and bubble and bubble. That is a boiling point of water. So, in Celsius degrees, in Celsius degrees, we have in here Celsius degrees. These ones are the Celsius degrees. 190, 80, 70, this one that we have in this side. In Celsius degrees, what is the boiling point of water? What Celsius degrees at how or what Celsius degrees the water starts to boil? At 100 Celsius degrees. 100 Celsius degrees, water starts to boil. But let's go to Fahrenheit degrees. In Fahrenheit degrees, at what Fahrenheit degrees the water starts to boil, or what is the boiling point of water, but in Fahrenheit degrees? If you notice, here we have the point, is not exactly in 210, and the other line, it doesn't mean 211. Each line represents 2 degrees. Why? Let's analyze, for example, from here to here we have 200, and in here we have 210. That means that every line in there has to measure 2. Tenemos 200 y 210. Cada línea de esas que está entre 200 y 210 representan 2 grados. ¿Por qué? ¿Cuántas rayitas tenemos entre 200 y 210? Cuéntenlas. 4, right? Entonces no podemos decir que la siguiente es 201 y la siguiente 202 y la siguiente 203 y la siguiente 204, porque solo llegamos hasta 205. Tenemos que contarlas de 2 en 2. ¿Ok? 200, 202, 204, 208, 200, and 210. ¿Ok? That means that cada rayita vale 2 degrees. So, knowing that, how many degrees in Fahrenheit scale is the boiling point of water? Let me see if we can do this one closer. Okay, here we have, look, here you have the boiling point of water. The line is exactly in here. That is the boiling point of water. In Celsius degrees is 100, but in Fahrenheit degrees is how many? Here is 210, and each line represents 2, so this one is 212, exactly, 212. So the boiling point of water in Celsius degrees is 100 Celsius degrees, but in Fahrenheit degrees is 212 Fahrenheit degrees. Okay, 212 in Fahrenheit, 100 degrees in Celsius. Now let's go to the other one. Here we have, what does it say? Normal human body temperature. Do you know that we have a temperature? A normal temperature. So, if we are healthy, we have to keep that temperature. But when we start to get sick, sometimes we start to present fever. That means that our temperature, the temperature of our body increases. That's why doctors use a thermometer to measure your temperature to see if you have fever or not. And if you have fever, how many degrees? So, what is the normal temperature in Fahrenheit degrees? Or in Celsius degrees first. We are going to analyze first Celsius degrees. Remember that Celsius degrees are these ones in here. So, which one is the normal human body temperature in Celsius degrees? Let's count them. Okay, I make it bigger for you to see it better. So here we have 30. So I told you that each line of these ones represents 2 degrees. Why? Because in here we have 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, and 40. Okay? We are counting 2 by 2. So knowing that, let's look at the normal human body temperature in Celsius degrees. Look that this line is not exactly in this line of 38. Remember that here is 38. So if the line is in here under 38, what number can be? What is before 38? 37, right? So that means that the normal human body temperature in Celsius degrees is 37 Celsius degrees. But let's go to the other part, to Fahrenheit degrees. In Fahrenheit degrees, what is the temperature? Let's go with the same line in here. What temperature is that? 100, right? 100 Fahrenheit degrees. So, if you use a thermometer and you place it under your arm or under your tongue, and the thermometer says that you have 100 Fahrenheit degrees, that means that you are okay. Or if you have 37 Celsius degrees, you are okay. But what happens if the thermometer, well, this one is not a thermometer, but let's imagine that it's a thermometer. What happens if the thermometer says that you have 30, instead of 37, you have 38 Celsius degrees? That means that you have fever and you have to take or to drink medicines for that. Or if you have, for example, not 100, but you have 102 Fahrenheit degrees, that means that you have fever and you need to go to the doctor or drink some pills. Now, another thing that is very important is you have to be in 37 Celsius degrees or 100 Fahrenheit degrees. If your temperature increases, that means that you have fever. But if your temperature decreases or you have less than 37 Celsius degrees or less than 100 Fahrenheit degrees, that means that also you need to increase the temperature of your body, because it has to be exactly or 37 or 100, 37 Celsius or 100 Fahrenheit. For example, have you seen movies in which a person falls into a frozen water? Maybe that person was in a frozen lake and suddenly the lake breaks and the person falls down into the frozen water. When the person is being rescued, it starts to shivering, right? And people start to try to increase the temperature of the body of that person, because if not, that person can die. That's why, because for you and I to be healthy, you have to be in that exactly temperature. Okay, let's continue with the other one. We already saw the boiling point of water. We already saw the human temperature. And we are going to see a hot day. Okay, a hot day. In Celsius degrees, what is the temperature that has to be in the environment for you to say that it's a very hot day? At what temperature has to be the environment? Look the line. Remember that each line represents 2 degrees. Exactly, at 32 Fahrenheit or Celsius in this side. Celsius degrees, excellent. So in in the television, sometimes you are going to listen to the forecast, el pronóstico del tiempo, the forecast, and they say, today for Tegucigalpa we are going to have a maximum temperature of 32. So today is going to be a hot day, and by night the temperature is going to be at a minimum of 20 degrees. So in there, they are using instruments like a thermometer to make a prognostic, a forecast of the weather, of the climate. So if you listen that in a place is at 32, 34, 35, 38, 40 Celsius degrees, believe me, that place is very hot. Here in Tegucigalpa, we have experienced those temperatures. Right now that we are in summer, we have reached some those kind of temperatures. But generally, Tegucigalpa has a weather that is between the 25 Celsius degrees during the day, okay? But in La Ceiba, San Pedro Sula, in there that are very hot places, the temperature is 32 or more than 32 in Celsius degrees. But now let's go to Fahrenheit degrees and tell me in Fahrenheit degrees, when are you going to have a hot day? How many degrees is the environment to say that is a hot day? Look at the line. 90 Fahrenheit degrees. Excellent. So in Honduras, we use more Celsius than Fahrenheit. But in places, for example, like United States, they use this scale. In United States, they use Fahrenheit degrees. In Honduras, we use Celsius degrees. It's because we are used to use that, but perfectly we can do it in Fahrenheit or in Celsius degrees. It doesn't matter. Okay, let's continue with the other one. And this one says a room temperature, the temperature of a room that is not exposed directly to the sun. So what is generally the temperature of a room, the temperature of your bedroom, your house inside, is generally about how many Celsius degrees? In Celsius degrees, let's count them. Look that now the line is not in 20, but it's not in 22. So it means that is excellent, 21 Celsius degrees, right? And in Fahrenheit degrees, 70 Fahrenheit degrees. Excellent. Are you understanding? We have to read where the lines are pointing. This line, this line, this line, and now this line. Okay? Now, let's see the other one. Freezing point of water. By here we had boiling point of water, and in here we have freezing point of water. So if boiling point is this one, what is freezing point? Boiling point is when the water has the maximum temperature and it starts to boil. And freezing point of water is when we have this. When water changes from liquid to a solid, or in other ways, when water becomes frozen. That is the freezing point of water. So in Celsius degrees, what is the freezing point of water? The line is pointing to how many degrees? 0 degrees, 0 Celsius degrees. Okay? And in Fahrenheit scale, here we have 30 and each line represents 2, so it's 32 Fahrenheit degrees in the Fahrenheit scale. Excellent. So the water will frozen if water is at 32 Fahrenheit degrees or 0 Celsius degrees. With those temperatures, the water becomes frozen. Okay, before continuing, another thing that I want you to understand is that in a thermometer, or talking about temperature, we can have temperatures over 0 and also temperatures under 0. Have you ever heard about, for example, in Canada, the temperature is minus 10 or 10 Fahrenheit or degrees under 0? Have you heard that? O tantos grados bajo cero. That means that the thermometer is marking this part of here. Okay, that is under 0. That means very, very, very cold, because in 0, in Celsius degrees, we already know that it's frozen. But under 0 means hyper frozen. Okay, so in here we have a cold day. When or at how many Celsius degrees we are going to have a cold day? So looking here that we have the 0, and we say here 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. But in here we say minus 10, minus 20, because it's under 0. So look now, in Celsius degrees, when are going to have, or when are you going to have a cold day? Don't count from here to here, because from 0 down, después de 0, que lo tenemos aquí, nosotros comenzamos a contar hacia abajo. De 0 para arriba empezamos a contar hacia arriba, pero de 0 para abajo contamos hacia abajo. Así que de 0, de este punto 0 hasta acá tenemos menos 10. Sigamos contando hasta llegar al cold day. Cada línea vale 2. Menos 12, menos 14, menos 16, y la línea está entre menos 14 y menos 16. So eso representa, it represents how many? Minus 15 Celsius degrees. Okay? Now let's go to the other side, to Fahrenheit degrees. In Fahrenheit degrees, look that until here we have 0. So in Fahrenheit degrees, this one, a cold day, is not under 0 yet. In Fahrenheit degrees is, let me see, 0, 2, 6, 8. 8, 6, 8. It's marking in 6, right? 6 Fahrenheit degrees. Remember that each line represents 2. Cada línea representa 2 grados. Y si ustedes se fijan acá, lo que les estaba diciendo es que en Celsius degrees, el 0 lo tenemos aquí, pero en Fahrenheit degrees el 0 está acá. Entonces, un día helado en Celsius degrees, la temperatura está bajo 0, porque aquí tenemos el cold day. Pero en Fahrenheit degrees todavía no es bajo 0, todavía es arriba de 0. ¿Ok? So, guys, now in your book you have another figure like this one. Do you see it? is another thermometer, and if you see, this line is pointing to how many degrees. If in here we have 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Each line is representing 2 degrees. So in here we have 8 Celsius degrees. And by this side, we have how many degrees? Remember that here we have 0. So we start to count from here. 0, minus 2, minus 4, minus 6. Okay, so if I tell you, guys, the temperature during the day was 8 Celsius degrees in the day, but at night the temperature changed. If you know, it's not the same temperature at day that at night. So at night it was minus 6 Celsius degrees. Okay? This one and this one. This one at day and this one at night. So what is the difference between that? Don't tell me, it's 2, because it's not. This one is minus 6. It's under 0, okay? It's not 6. So how do we know the difference? What we are going to know the difference is to count how many degrees do we have from 8 Celsius degrees to minus 6 Celsius degrees. So let me erase. And we have, in here we have 8 degrees, and in here we have minus 6 degrees. So let's see what is the difference between them. To know that, we are going to count how many degrees do we have from here to here. So here we have 6 and here we have 8, minus 6 and 8. So let's start counting. Remember that each line represents 2 degrees. So in here we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14 degrees between minus 6 and 8. So that is the answer that we have in here. So we have to count how many degrees are between this and this. How do we do it? We have to draw a thermometer and we have to count the lines or the degrees between them. Okay, guys, now we are going to answer the information sentences that you have in there. The first information sentence that you have says, at what temperature does water boil? On Fahrenheit scale? Do you remember on Fahrenheit scale? It was at 212. Excellent. And on the Celsius scale? At 100 Celsius degrees. Excellent. So, and then the problem is that we have to find the difference in temperature, and at the end we have the information sentence that says there was how many degrees in a change in temperature of the Celsius scale. It was 14 Celsius degrees. That was the change between 8 and minus 6 Celsius degrees. So we are going to answer questions number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in page 111, and I will help you with one of the other one for you to know how to do it. So in number 1, let me erase this, please. Okay, number 1 says, at what temperature does water freeze On the Fahrenheit scale, here we have the freezing point of water, so we have to look for the Fahrenheit scale. At what point does the water freeze in the Fahrenheit scale? Look in there. It's at 32. Excellent. 32. But you have to write Fahrenheit degrees. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 says, what is room temperature on the Celsius scale? So here we have the Celsius scale, and what is the room temperature in Celsius scale? Here we have the room temperature, what degrees? 20, 21, 22, 21, what? Melones, sandías, naranjas? Celsius degrees, okay? Let's do number 3. Number 3 says, you are wearing a winter coat, a sweater, a winter coat. If you are wearing a winter coat, it says, is the temperature 35 Celsius degrees or 35 Fahrenheit degrees? 35 Celsius or Fahrenheit degrees? Because it says you are wearing a winter coat. That means that the day is hot or cold. It's cold, right? So which one of these ones is cold? 35 Celsius degrees or 35 Fahrenheit degrees? Let's see at the picture here. If we say that is 35 Celsius degrees, let's find where do we have 35. We have Celsius degrees in here. And 35, 32, 34, 35 is going to be like by here, more or less by here. Look, by here, more or less, 35. But looking Celsius degrees, more than 30, we are going to have what? A hot day. So it cannot be 35 Celsius degrees. Let's see if we have, where do we have 35 Fahrenheit degrees? 35 in Fahrenheit degrees are these ones, so let's find 35. 35 is over here, right? And look, it's very close to a cold day or to the freezing point of water. So that means that for you to be wearing a winter coat, it has to be 35, not Celsius, Fahrenheit degrees. Because with Celsius degrees, 35 is very hot. Okay, let's answer number 4. Find the change in temperature. Let me erase this. Find the change in temperature from 12 Celsius degrees to -5 Celsius degrees. So, how are you going to do number 4? You have to draw a thermometer to find the difference. So we are going to draw a thermometer like this one in here. And let's say that by here we are going to have 0. So it says 12 Celsius degrees and -5 Celsius degrees. 12 Celsius degrees is going to be in this part or in this part? In this part, right? And -5 Celsius degrees is going to be in this part because it says minus, is under 0. So that means that we are going to have from 0 up, we are going to have 12. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 10, sorry, 11 and 12. Here we have 12 Celsius degrees. And from 0 down, we are going to have how many? 5 Celsius degrees. So here we have 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5. So here we have minus 5 Celsius degrees. So what is the difference between 12 and minus 5? How many degrees do we have in there? So let's count them. Let me choose another color of pen for you to be able to see it. We're going to use a green pen. So let's count from 12 to minus 5. Let's count them. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So from 12 to minus 5 we have 17 degrees. 17 degrees. So the answer in here, we are going to answer 17 degrees. Here we do not write Celsius because we are not measuring. Only we are counting how many degrees do we have from this point to this point. We have all these degrees. Okay, 17 degrees. So let's answer number 5. And number 5 says, find the change in temperature from 45 Fahrenheit degrees, 45 Fahrenheit degrees, and 39 Fahrenheit degrees. So again, we are going to draw a thermometer, and by here we are going to have 45. Look that in here we have 45 and 39. No one of them is minus, so that means that we are not going to write anyone under 0. So if 35 is in here, 45 is in here, 44 is in here, 43, 42, 41, 40, and 39. So in here we have 39 Fahrenheit degrees, and in here Fahrenheit degrees. Okay? 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, and 45. So what is the difference between 45 and 39? Let's count the degrees. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees of difference between 45 and 39. So in number 5, we are going to answer 6 degrees. Okay? So that is the topic for today. Very, very easy. It's just reading thermometers, interpreting thermometers, and finding the changes from one degrees to the other ones. So in number 4 and 5, what did you have to do? You had to do to draw first a thermometer to find the difference or the change. So now, guys, your homework is in page 112 from 1 to 13. In this case, you don't have problem solving to solve, just from 1 to 13. I will help you with number 1, and let's read the instruction. It says, write each temperature in Celsius or Fahrenheit. In number 1, here you have number 1. Here you have the thermometer. The thermometer is using a Celsius or Fahrenheit degrees. Celsius, right? Look in here, Celsius. So, what is the temperature that the thermometer is showing in there? Look, here is the temperature. So what is the temperature in number 1? If in here is 10 and if in here is 20, and each line represents 2, here we have 12, 14, 16, 18, right? So this thermometer is showing 18 Celsius degrees. Now you have to do number 2. First you have to look at the scale. What scale is using, Celsius or Fahrenheit? Fahrenheit. So tell me how many Fahrenheit degrees this thermometer is showing and write them in the line. And do also number 3 and number 4. Okay? And then in number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 13, what you have to do is to answer those questions that you have in there. How are you going to answer them? You are going to answer them by interpreting the thermometer that you have in there. So you have a thermometer like this one, okay, like that one. And for example, number 5 says, number 5, what is the temperature in the Celsius scale? Here we have the Celsius scale. So what temperature that the thermometer is showing in the Celsius scale? Let's look what the line is exactly here. So how many Celsius degrees do we have in there? If in here we have 10, let's count. 12, 14, 16, right? So it's showing 16 Celsius degrees. Remember not to write only the number. You have to write if they are Celsius or Fahrenheit degrees. Now in number 6 says, what is the temperature on Fahrenheit scale? This same temperature, but in Fahrenheit scale, by this side. Okay? So you have to answer by yourself. Number 7, is 10 Celsius degrees warmer or colder than 10 Fahrenheit degrees? 10 Fahrenheit degrees. Which one? This one is warmer than this or colder than this? What do you have to do? Look them in the thermometer. 10 Celsius degrees, 10 Fahrenheit degrees. So where do you have? Here we have, look, here we have the Celsius degrees. So where do we have 10 Celsius degrees? Here, right? 10 Celsius degrees. And where do we have 10 Fahrenheit degrees? These ones are the Fahrenheit degrees. Where do we have 10 Fahrenheit degrees? Here, right? So which one is, 10 Celsius degrees, this one that is in here, is warmer or colder than this one? So answer by yourself, warmer or colder? What you have to write in there is, or warmer or colder. Decide, is this one warmer or colder than this one? Analyze. Number 8 says, you are going swimming, okay? You are going swimming. So is the temperature 30 Celsius degrees or 30 Fahrenheit degrees? Let's analyze. If you are going swimming, it has to be not cold. It has to be a sunny day. So it's 30 Celsius degrees or Fahrenheit degrees. Okay, let's look. Where do we have Celsius degrees? 30 Celsius degrees. 30 Celsius degrees is in here. And 30 Fahrenheit degrees is in here. So if you are going swimming, which one do you think is? Fahrenheit or Celsius? I don't know. You have to answer, decide. And if you do not remember, let's go back to page 111. In there you have the thermometer, and in the thermometer you have when it is a cold day and when it is a hot day, and that is going to help you to decide if it's 30 Celsius degrees or 30 Fahrenheit degrees. Now let's go to number 9. And number 9 says, you are wearing a sweater. So what is the temperature? 50 Fahrenheit degrees or 50 Celsius degrees. If you have to wear a sweater, it's because the temperature is Fahrenheit, 50 Fahrenheit degrees or Celsius degrees. So let's look in the thermometer. Where do you have the Fahrenheit degrees? Here, right? Where do you have 50 Fahrenheit degrees? 50 Fahrenheit degrees. And where do you have 50 Celsius degrees? Here, right? Okay, so remember, in Celsius degrees, when do we have a hot day or a cold day? And in Fahrenheit degrees, when do you have a hot or a cold day? So if you have to wear a sweater, it's because the temperature is this or this. Okay, answer by yourself. In number 10 says, at what temperature does water boil? That is easy. Just you have to look back in the other page. On the Celsius scale, at what temperature the water starts boiling in Celsius scale? And in number 11, 12, 13, and 14, and 13, what you have to do is to look for the change in temperature. So what do you have to do in in 11, 12, and 13? Well, you have to, 11 says, for example, from 20 Celsius degrees to 35 Celsius degrees. So you have to draw a thermometer, okay? And are you going to need 0? No, right? Because no one of these ones are minus. So both of them are up or under or over 0. So let's say that by here we have 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, until 35. So what you have to do is to count how many degrees do you have from 22 to 35, and you are going to write that in exercise 11. And the same you are going to do in 12, but in 12 you have 5 Celsius degrees to minus 15 Celsius degrees, so be careful with that. And in number 13 you have 67 Fahrenheit degrees to 49 Fahrenheit degrees. So guys, I hope you understood the topic. I'm going to be waiting for your homework, and blessings.